Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing well. So I wanted to start another reading vlog. I haven't done one in a really long time. I've started a couple and just haven't finished them, and instead of doing that, finishing them, I wanted to start a new one because I've been wanting to do this specific one for a while. And it's a reading vlog where I read two books that I've just heard so much talk about in their original language. So I speak Norwegian, Swedish, and English. Both of these books have been very popular in my circle of book friends, readers. The first one is Strega by Johanne Lykke Holm. This is a Swedish book. The people I've seen reviewing it have all read it in English, but I just have been putting off reading this because I don't like reading in Swedish or Norwegian, and I decided to read it in the original language because I can. Like, why wouldn't you want to read it in the original language? I believe this one's about this group of women who run a hotel together, but no one ever really goes there. So this is the first one. It's fairly short, but I know it's going to take me a long time to read because it's just, I barely read in Norwegian and Swedish, and it's just going to take me a while. And the other one is O Hate Gud by Jenny Wahl. The English one is called Girls Against God, I believe, or something like that. And this one, I'm not really sure what it's about. The back is very specific, yet doesn't really give me any information. Don't really know what it's about, but I'm going to be reading these two books in this vlog. I just hit myself with a book, didn't I? It's a two-part experiment vlog because I want to know how I read in these languages that I just have not read a book in since I was, at best, like a young teenager. That's not really true. I have read some Swedish books because I did go to school in Sweden after that. Very curious to see, but I'm going to start with the Norwegian one because it's a little bit longer and I'm more intimidated by it because of the language. But I thought this would be an interesting vlog, see how it goes. But it's gonna take me a minute. I just finished like chapter 3, I think, and it's like definitely a challenge for me to read this. Like, not only is the Norwegian language, like there's so many words that I just like don't know, and that terrifies me, but also it's like so far it doesn't have like a lot of plot, and it's like fairly thick to read. Obviously I don't know how I would feel about it if it was in English, but from what I can gather, it's like about this person who like hates like religion and the ideas of God and stuff like that, and they want to create some sort of like black and white film. That's it. It's very like a lot of like theory stuff, and it's very much like about the illusions of reality and what we tell ourselves and something like that. It's gonna be hard, but I am up for the challenge, I think. I'm just on page 44, but I'm already so happy I chose to read this book in Norwegian because there's so much reference to language and the main character's like relationship to where they come from. And I think it would be so strange to read it in English. Like, there's so many words that I read that I'm like, what did they translate this to English to? So definitely right choice to read it in Norwegian, but also I think I am struggling to connect with it because of the language, which is just interesting because I do think I would read it way differently if it was in English.
Many months later.
Hello. So last time that I checked in was like literally a month ago. It just got so busy. We went to Iceland and lived the farm life. And we had a trans garden party. It was super cute. I got home and then Pride Week in Copenhagen happened. And I just a lot. I did not have time to read or make a blog or anything like that. All like bunch of fun stuff. But I decided to put this off because I wanted to update you on my thoughts on it while I was reading it. But obviously it's been a month and I've forgotten anything that I thought about it. I have 35 pages left, so I thought I would just kind of finish it now, today, and then I can talk about it finally. The sound is like you hear the text in my book being read inside your own head. Alright, I finished it. Oh, Hattegud by Jenny Wahl. Wow. I feel like this book is about so many things. It has like exploration of blasphemy and witches and rebellion mixed in with the feelings of like where to find hope within the hate. And essentially it's like, I feel like books like this and a lot of different books, it's like they're trying to explain a feeling or a circumstance or like a place within you or without you. We don't have the language to explain. And so it's like with books like these where it's written in this mildly chaotic way where she like explores this feeling. And I do really admire books that like make you feel something that you can't explain, but the author has done the job of like making you feel that way. It gets more and more fever dreamy like later in the book, and I think as you're reading it, it's like hard to distinguish what is real and what is like part of her movie or movie idea and what is like fever dreamy or like a dream or whatever kind of. And I think it's like when you think about it, you can you know the difference between like what actually happened in real life and what is like part of her idea for a film kind of, or like her writing a film. But while you're reading it, it all seems like very mixed together, and I think that's like a big part of creating that feeling of like what's the difference between real life and fiction, sort of the difference between like fantasy and reality, and which is also like a theme that kind of like comes again. And I think the author did a really good job of that. I think there's really not that much like actually happening. It's very body horror-y in the fever dream parts or like in the movie explanation parts. And I was just thinking about this, how I had like, I think 3 weeks ago, I had a couple of nights in a row where I would have these like horrible horror body dreams. Like one, my vulva just like fell out. The other, I had to like remove these like huge worms from my stomach. And then like reading the end of this, I'm like, maybe it was from this book that I was having all of that. And I mean, like it continued. Like I think even before I read this book, I was having like a lot of body horror dreams. And I think reading this, it's like kind of funny to like see a lot of the stories in it. It's kind of like, it's just like very reminiscent of the feeling of my dreams. It's very sensual, but also very much like body fluids, like poo and pee and blood and stuff like that comes up in the movies. But I think it's very philosophical, I would say, and makes you like think about a lot of stuff, but it has a mixture of like, this is just, seems like on the surface, random things that are happening in my film, and very concrete, like these are my sort of political views. It's a mix of that. I thought it was very well written. And I feel like it's a funny feeling. I feel like I would have given this 5 stars if it was written in English, and it made me think like, could I ever read a book in Norwegian that I give 5 stars to? I don't know. It's such a weird statement to make, right? But I liked it a lot. I'm giving it like 4.75 stars. Sometimes I felt like it was very extra, but I also appreciated it. I appreciated the extra. But it's weird because I moved from Norway when I was 11 years old, and I haven't read like a Norwegian book since then. And so my Norwegian language is like stopped progressing from when I was 11. So I'm like reading it with the mind of a 24-year-old, but with the language skills of 11-year-old, which does make this like hard for me. And while I was reading this, I was like, I would love to read this in English just to like compare it. And obviously this would be a great concept idea if I were to just like read both of them in the original language and then both of them in English. But I don't think I have the time or energy for that right now. But that would be a fun experiment. So it's Saturday now. It's been a couple of days. That's what the montage you just watched was. Just like random things I've been doing. I have also been reading Strega. I am like more than 1/3 through, I would say, page 78. And so far, I feel like this book has like a more warmer feeling to it. I mean, not to sit here and compare two completely books that have like not been compared to each other, but I had some reflections on it. I wonder like if this book feels warmer to me because it's in Swedish, which I associate with my mother, who is a warmer person to me than my father, who I associate Norwegian with. I don't know, just interesting thoughts that I've been having. Of course, it could also just be the books, but this follows this 19-year-old girl who goes to work at a hotel in the city called Strega. At this hotel, she has to like wear a uniform when she's working, and she's doing like everyday stuff to like cleaning, cooking, fixing garden stuff, together with these other girls who are also like around 19 years old. And it's very strange vibes. I felt like in the beginning it was like really pushing this rhetoric of like, oh my god, this is so creepy, this is so scary, comparing like stuff she was seeing to just like morbid things in general. And I was like, okay, this is definitely setting up a vibe. It's trying to make me creeped out. And the interior of this hotel is like a lot of red and dark purple, kind of like gothic vibes a little bit, which I think is a little bit strange because it starts off in like the spring, autumn. So it's supposed to be like very growing stuff. I don't know, growing stuff. Gosh. But I think like with this book is like very interesting what it does. It's like it describes taste and smell in like a very specific way that I think is also like very Swedish. I've read this in a lot of other Swedish books where they like describe taste and smell as like things that you wouldn't normally know what tastes like or smells like. Super descriptive. Not a lot is happening. It's just about these girls forming friendships and bonds and relating to each other in this common experience of taking care of this hotel, which by the way, no one's staying at, which is just weird vibes already. No one's staying there. So they're just taking care of things that don't really need taken care of. There's a lot of weird smells at this hotel. Nearby there is a kloster, nunnery. Is that what you say it? and these nuns sell like some sort of alcohol, I think, and you're not supposed to like really talk to them, just show respect. And there's also just a lot of uncomfortable stuff happening where like the people who the woman Rex who's like kind of like guiding them and taking care of them, like she like sometimes like hits them or denies them food, or like it's just very like some uncomfortable culty vibes. And there's this one line where she says like, well, we were treated like one unit, so we like behaved like one unit, kind of like the girls that are working there. So it's interesting so far. I don't know if it's gonna get more horror-y. I feel like there's a lot of uncomfortable vibes, so it might take a darker turn. That's all about all that I'm gonna tell you about the book, because I feel like it's maybe already too much. And I'm enjoying it actually a lot. It's a lot easier for me to read Swedish, surprisingly. I didn't learn Swedish until I moved to Sweden when I was 11. And even then I went to an international school, so I only had Swedish as like a subject, but my mother also speaks Swedish, so it's not like I haven't grown up with the language, but it's definitely out of Norwegian and Swedish. Swedish is definitely the language I feel more comfortable with, so it's going a little bit easier. I'm reading 25 pages a day. Fun things have been happening, but today I'm going to work at ARC, and I'm not going to be taking you with me because there is a festival there happening like on that street, like a book festival where authors will come and read excerpts, and like events and stuff are happening. So I'll probably be like busy doing stuff, and today I think is like Trans Day of some celebration or something. So there's going to be nonprofit organization event called TransCore have organized like a party, trans separatist party tonight, which I'm going to. But 2 days ago, I woke up with this like neck stiffness where like I could not move my neck. It was so painful. I slept weird, or I don't know. And it's like slowly gotten better, so I can like move my neck now. But it's like so painful. And going to like a party, dancing all night is not something I'm up for, unfortunately. So I'm just gonna take it easy, and I'll try to update you on my thoughts as I read. There's this one part where she was like comparing like a taste to in her mouth to like blood and cream mixed together, and it's just very real how like I feel like I can feel it. Descriptions are I just like I feel like I can see and feel everything that's being described to us, which I think is very cool. I like that a lot. Also, I'm gonna show you my outfit because I think maybe it's a little much, but it's kind of cute. This is the look. It's kind of like straight pants. I'm very obsessed with these pants, but I'm not sure yet if I should wear it with this to bring the pants kind of like in the same theme, or without. I think maybe without is better. Yeah, it is, especially when I see it on camera. So it's early in the morning the next day. Well, not as early as I wanted to, but I was reading Strega like for such a long time yesterday. I got really into it because stuff and things started to happen. And it's like been building up to, yeah, action-y things. And it finally came to what felt like a head, and I just had to like keep on reading, which was really nice. Like, in the beginning I was struggling a little bit with the language because the sentences are so short, which I generally like don't like because it becomes like really choppy to read it. But this was actually like, I just started to get into it more because even though there's not a lot happening, it's just so like atmospheric and rich that like I was completely consumed. And so today I am going to have breakfast, eat my tebolle, which I have been informed is baby food for toddlers, kidsy tebolle. And then here, I'll show you, I have a productivity booster, which looks like this. And I know I spelled productivity wrong, but it's like all these tasks that if I complete them, I get to buy myself a new iPad case because it's completely falling apart and I want like a place for my pencil. But I have like 13 stars left to fill and only like 5 days. So I just really want that iPad case. It's been working so far, but I need to get shit and stuff and things done. So today's gonna be busy, 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 trying to catch up with this. And that's my plan. So I actually finished Strega, the book, 2 days ago. And I had some thoughts and stuff. I want to be better at like updating my thoughts as I'm reading. But like I was just busy, it was late. 2 days have gone by and I'm trying to finish like all the tasks on my productivity booster. And a lot of them are like centered around stuff and things around the home. Like we painted the kitchen green, made it more of like our home type of situation. I made these beautiful curtains. I'll show you later because I'm like proud of them. But all these like granny squares my partner had before we met that they made, and I made these two pillows out of them. This one and this one. They're really cute, and I also like redid this chair, like old chair that I had, that we got. And now I'm sewing like the granny squares onto this. It's like a bit of a scrappy look. Just pause the video if you want them to grow on you because it does get better. But yeah, I finished this side. It took me like probably like 1 hour and a little bit more. So now I'm doing the other side. And when I finish this, I'm gonna tell you all about the books that I read for this reading vlog. And we're gonna wrap it up. It's exciting actually finishing a reading vlog. It's been so long. Alright, let's have a little wrap up and chat about Strega before I send you off. So I ended up, yes, giving both of these books 4 stars, something like that. I think they have a lot of similarities, like with the religious undertones. This one turned maybe a little bit culty, perhaps. I'm not really sure. And they both like have this perspective of finding community within uncomfortable feelings, I guess is the right way to phrase it. And they're both like very feminist, have like themes of themes surrounding like men and what men represents. And yeah, I don't know, this one had like a really interesting text in it towards the end about like how every man you meet is like a potential or is like potential predator or killer. I honestly thought that both of these would go darker. I feel like someone has mentioned that they're both horror, and I think maybe I don't really understand the concept of horror because I've read quite a few like stories that are classified as horror, but I feel like they don't really go where I thought a horror should be. And I think like with these types of horror, if that's what they are, where it's like very quiet and it's more about like the vibes of horror rather than like what is actually happening, kind of, then I do really enjoy that. So like Fever Dream, which is also like a horror. I've been watching a lot of Kayla just to get into like the feel of booktube again, and there's quite a few books that she's recommended recently, like I want to say Our Share of Nights, this book, which I ordered, and also Leeches, I believe, which I was just like sold on this whole horror sci-fi concept. I'm really excited to get into more like horror stuff. Neither of these like really went there, and I'm wondering if it is like I can't really buy that it is because of the nature of not feeling complete, because I love it when there's like sort of an open ending, or if there's like some sort of like semi cliffhanger at the end that makes you wonder like what actually happened, or you build your own like ending around how you perceive the end. So I don't really think it's that. I just think maybe the build-up of the story, like specifically with Strega, the build-up of the story made me expect something different, and it never really climaxes the story itself. It's more about how like the themes climaxes. Bunny sneezing. Nope, just eating cardboard. But I so much fun to read this in Swedish. I'll definitely read faster in Swedish, but it didn't have like so much around like Swedish culture or text or anything like that. And I think the city of Strega, I had to look this up, is not actually like a city in Sweden. And it made me wonder if this was written kind of like ambiguous as to like where it was on the globe, because it could very much be in Sweden, like with the herbs they were talking about and like the growth, like the fauna around it. But a lot of the names of like the girls here are more like Italian or Spanish names. I was wondering if Strega could be like an Italian city, but then also there's nothing really around like culture in general, except like the social culture that is very specific to the weird culty vibes in this book. Like this, yeah. So I thought that was kind of like an interesting choice by the author. Not as much of like I'm so happy I read this in Swedish. It's not the same vibes as I had like with this one, which was so much about like Norwegian culture and Norwegian language. But yeah, so fun that I actually read something in my father tongue and mother tongue, if you could say that, because I haven't read in either of these languages for such a long time. And I would love to read both of these in English. I think perhaps this one I might have enjoyed more in English. And this one I'm just curious about what it sounds like in English, to be honest. But thank you so much for joining me for this reading vlog. I hope you enjoyed following me along the way. I hope you have a wonderful, amazing day. Tell me if you read these books, your thoughts on them. And if you enjoyed this vlog, I wish you all the best. Bye!